Okay.
You put this inside, it's easier. You can hold it. Make it also when I talk, maybe it's better come close up. That's why I took my hands
years. So I used to come to Islamabad when I get tired of my studies for my weekend break. So after 5-6 years I'm back here, so I'm very happy to be in this gathering. Yeah, so I also want to discuss why I decided on this. Okay. Sorry, excuse me. I decided to discuss this topic. So thanks. Because since I said I have been a part of Pakistan for some time, and I'm frequent traveler to India for conferences and teaching on assignment basis. So I thought, I found that for me as a Sri Lankan, it's very easy, to travel and mix with people, and I see when I cross the Baga border, so I see the similarities which they don't see. So I'm an insider and outsider. So logistically, it is easier for me to work on this. I thought Sri Lanka as a country also has the same advantage. That is why I decided on this topic. But this is to be negotiated. Okay. The other one is the same. So I am focusing only existing SAFTA, and especially when I talk about South Asia, out of South Asia, it has been always, and it is one of least developed region in the world if you compare with other regions in terms of human development, all literacy, education, health, and all these. If you consider all these things, I think it's slightly better than maybe sub-Saharan Africa. So it is one of poorest region. I'm going through kind of faster because of your lunch, so I think you might don't mind that. Okay. However, during recent past, maybe for last 10-15 years, we see some kind of positive development, some kind of inspiring trends. We see high economic growth rates and some success stories, especially high information technology, cinema industry, success of South Asia, in Silicon Valley. So we see all those kind of success stories these days, and also some trends about regional cooperation. Trying to work on regional integration in South Asia in terms of SAARC and SAPTA. What do you call that? SAPTA, yeah. So there are some initiatives going on. However, we can see that they have not been very effective in terms of results achieved. Now, this is a comparison between different regional intra-regional trade in South Asia as well as other similar agreements like South American ones and ASEAN and EU. So again, you can see South Asia has been very. Look at the figure, the agreements. What are the reasons? So the different people argue for different reasons for failures. So I have kind of selected some of these more credible ones. So you already talk about Indian-Pakistan hostility as the one of major reasons, and also India's dominance as economical power. Now one can expect India to be the driver because it's the largest and its most kind of dynamic rising power. But if you look at the regional integration, so India has been kind of sleeping giant, so it has not been always very positive. So that has been also one main reason of being a regional integration failure. And I think this was point also mentioned earlier. India's dominance not only on size but also it is the only country where India is the only country shares borders with all other countries in South Asia. It is the only country that has that advantage. So it's dominant in some, not better. Okay. So not only ethnic conflict has reduced the credibility of Sri Lanka as an enabler, but it also has lost in international competitiveness, and also it has now Sri Lanka is struggling with internal issues, and so they don't have time to focus on globalization or regionalization. And there are some threats to Sri Lankan's role. There's an Indianization going on in Sri Lanka. Maybe I will explain later.
Plant breeders' right for the terminators. And this act is very similar to India's Plant Breeders Act. Discussing on sovereignty, the Constitution has accepted the sovereign rights over its natural resources, including biodiversity, and explained by Article 28(7) of the Constitution, which make it a fundamental duty of every person in Sri Lanka to protect nature and conserve its resources. Article 27(14) of the Constitution, which makes it a directive principle of state policy for the state to protect, preserve and improve the environment for the benefit of the community. And also Article 27(2)(e) of the Constitution, which makes the equitable distribution among all citizens of the material resources of the community and social product directive principle of state policy in order to best serve the community good. The other efforts to conserve biodiversity is, after stratifying CBD as a first step in implementing CBD, Sri Lanka has prepared a framework for action for the conservation of biodiversity that's called BCAP in 1998. It has addressed the issue of protecting agrobiodiversity as well. This was prepared in response to Article 6 of the CBD, which requires the states to develop.
Today I'll be talking about ABS, the access and benefit sharing mechanism, the prior informed consent, and farmers' right. And I'll be dealing with a review of legal mechanisms that is existing in Nepal. I just want to tell you that I haven't dealt with all of the important laws that are already existing and which are in the process of ratification and all those things. I'll be talking mainly about the two specific laws that have come up as a part of Nepal's commitment to different multilateral and multilateral treaties. So, just like Tiranti started, even Nepal is very rich in terms of biodiversity. Just like most of its South Asian neighbors, Nepal has a very rich biodiversity, and even like all of the South Asian neighbors, biodiversity, most of the people who live in Nepal are very closely associated with the biodiversity, because biodiversity is very closely related with the livelihood of the people in Nepal. And about 78% of the total population depend on agriculture for their livelihood. And agriculture contributes about 40% to the GDP of the country. In Nepal, basically the farmers who've been, these farmers have been saving and exchanging, reusing seeds, and have been instrumental in developing new farms.
Or some experiences related to that. And while we are in the act of formulation of these particular ABS, PAC and other acts, it is important if we get the benefit of their experiences, what are positive things they have obtained from their developing or enacting those acts, rules and regulations into their own countries, and what were the lapses and why use
themselves. If you for example, the process that was done in Kerala, I guess, they documented on their own, the community. That can be the process. Like, if the only problem
is a party to WTO and CBD, and also a non-party to RTPGR and UPOV. However, we have drafted access law to our country, but because of the very strong opposition from the civil society and from the environmentalists, government have to give up that. But government drafted that in basically on the constitution, fundamentally on constitution, the other national and international instruments, and with the expertise ideas. And again, they are going to draft it for Sri Lanka new access law. I think that should be implemented, because without the access law, it's so difficult to save our farmers' rights and all these things, especially for the equitable and fair benefit sharing. We should have the access law.
This was one of the richest states in India. It was also one of the most advanced, in the sense that Patna University was one of the top universities of India. We don't think of it that way now, but and it also had some of the best cadre and talent. I mean, the first president of India was from Bihar, and so on and so forth. Okay. I remember talking here in Pakistan about a month ago on this, and I said, you know, I mean, when my grandmother was living in the Tarai in Nepal in Kapilvastu, I was diagnosed with
and they are very kindful, and one thing I find in this trips to the visiting the different places inside the Islamabad, that is really it has helped me to be, instead of just sitting in a room to getting the knowledge on the Islamabad and issues related in South Asia, it's going to a trip into the city and getting some knowledge about the different places. That's a part of the educational curriculum for each and every school curriculum, or you can see in the college level or in any level. It's a part of the educational trip, is a part of the curriculum. So it gives you more insight to you to take some of the memories into your place, and you can share it with your student. That really help us to be bring the some of the regional cooperation with
Yemeni. आप सब लोगों की इजाज़त के साथ